to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's see here. Any changes to the agenda from council? None? All right. Presentations, we have the audit presentation from Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, CPAs and advisors.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Christine Olran. I'm the audit partner that oversaw your financial statement audit. I have Tanya Laham with me, and she is our senior. She really ran and did all the hard work. But I'm just going to give you a high overall summary of it, not take you page by page through audit financials.
Yeah, it was long.
So you did get a clean, unmodified opinion, which is the opinion that you want to receive on your financial statements. You did have a new accounting standard you had to implement this year. So your compensated absences, you now have to record the amount of sick leave you think people will use before they leave. So in addition to what you would pay them upon termination, you have to also accrue it based on what you think they'll use before they leave. The Government Accounting Standards Board thought this was a good idea, so that is why you see a larger increase this year. It's not because everybody saved all of their sick time and their PTO, it was because of the change in the standard. Your general fund, your revenues were up $492,000. $365,000 of that was property taxes, and then you also received a payment from the federal government for the ICE program. Your expenditures were up $1.7 million. That is primarily because the fire truck finally came in, so that plus 2 police cars, so that was $668,000. There was also an increase for salaries, and then the plants for media and ad, and then additional consulting as well. So in the general fund this year, you used $1.2 million of your fund balance. Those were planned expenditures for a very long time, so it's not a surprise that this year it finally came to a use. One thing we've talked about with your town manager is you may want to look at not committing quite as much next year. You commit it for your future projects, which is fine, but the state, when they evaluate how you're doing, and if you're like on the brink of bankruptcy, they use assigned and unassigned. And since you committed so much for future projects with that use, you went from 3 months in your unassigned down to 3 weeks because you had the use. Also to compound that, when you have grants, if you don't receive the funds within 60 days, the revenue doesn't count, but you have the expenditures. So you also had some of that this year, so it's sitting in your unavailable, so you don't have the revenue to offset those expenditures, and then it reduces your fund balance as well. So one option, just to make yourself look better to the state, not that you are in any brink of going bankrupt, but you could put debris removal or insurance or things that are like from a hurricane and assigned, and then it's still set aside, but it's not the higher level of the commitment. So. In your parks fund, you had an increase of $97,000 from your revenue due to the increase in the prices for the permits and the tickets. And then you had a decrease of $97,000 in expenses because nobody ran into the boardwalk this year. So you didn't have to repair it. So you ended up with so you actually have a $337,000 increase in the fund balance in that fund. So overall, management did great. We didn't have any findings or letters of comment for them. So I know Jennifer's been working really hard in understanding all of it, since being on top of and in charge of all the accounting without an outside accountant is new for her.
Cool. Any questions from council?
No questions. Just thank you for the good news.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, public comments. Non-agenda items. Persons wishing to address the town council on a matter not listed on the agenda may speak at this time. Speakers must provide their name and address, observe a 3-minute time limit, and speak only after being recognized by the mayor. Anybody? Cool. You guys don't have to stay. I mean, if you like this kind of fun. Public announcements. There are openings on the following boards and committees: Civil Service, Heritage Committee, Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Committee, and Sustainable Community and Resiliency Committee. Town Hall will be closed July 4th in observance of Independence Day, and the July Town Council meeting will be held on Friday, July 10th at 5 p.m. All right, consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there? All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Can we pull one item?
Sure.
Can we pull number 4, just for discussion?
Yep.
I'll amend my motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling item 4 for the special event in Orlando Park.
Second, anyone?
Second?
All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda with item number 4 pulled, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. All right, item 4.
I just was curious. I don't think we've ever had an event like that in Orlando Park, and being that it's quite a big, it looks to be like, with tents and whatnot, I just was curious if there had been any discussion about or concerns, because it seemed like in the past we tried to do something a little more back when I was on Parks and Rec, and we got a little pushback. And being something that would attract a lot of cars and whatnot, I just didn't know if you guys had considered that element. Not that I'm against it, I'm just curious if.
Yeah, I didn't know where everybody's gonna park. I don't know, staff, did you have any?
So they reached out to us, I guess, because at Bill DeLucia's house on Melbourne Avenue is one of the showing places, and they're gonna have like little plant stand out there and stuff like that. We never had an event there. I told them that was kind of a, the park, I already mentioned the parking issues to them and stuff like that, that we have very limited parking.
Okay.
If you have any input on the parking for this event around Orlando Park?
No, sir.
All right,
Is Nance even an option?
I'm sure it is.
It could be, they didn't ask for it.
I think Mr. DeLuca's house is within walking distance, that may be the that may be the motivating factor. In the layout of the event, all of the tents and activities are on the south side of the park, within the green field that's south of the playground area and the pickleball multi-use court, and they also are planning to use the pavilion there. So obviously they also call out some portable toilets on the side of the road, or maybe it's in the park, I'm not sure. So, I'm okay with giving it a trial run, see how it goes. I mean, it's not a rowdy bunch, and it is Sunday, so I know they plan to be done by like 5 o'clock on Sunday, so. But certainly I appreciate the concerns though, yeah.
Yeah, I know when we had, because I'm a member of the Garden Club by the Sea, and when we were looking at the Pollinator Fair, we considered Orlando Park, and we did not move forward with it there because of the lack of parking. And so my only concern would be that there would be a lot, I don't know how well attended it would be, but assuming you want it to be well attended, if that would be a concern, because people are definitely going to be parking in people's lawns and whatever, and so well, slightly concerned, I am.
I believe too, they might have wanted to, I'm trying to remember, they wanted to go down to Magnolia Pedway and see some of the native planting we did there and stuff. So it was kind of a native planting, and it concerned me when I saw the layout originally with, I'm like, they say the little vendor things and stuff.
Sure. Because, as you know, the Pollinator Fair in Nance Park was very well attended both years, so, and obviously, I'm very much in support of native plants, and I too will probably want to be in attendance. I'm just concerned at the location. I think possibly it would be better placed, like Carrie said, in Nance Park, I think would.
They have no food trucks either, though, so
Okay.
it's not going to draw that type of crowd.
Okay.
That was a super event, the Pollinator event was.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's November 8th, so we can just be vigilant during the affair, and if there's any issues, I'm sure IPD can work, but I don't know if we're planning to notify the neighbors. That might be helpful to make them aware.
All right. Is there a motion to approve item number 4?
Oh, one more question. There's no live music. I didn't see any of those type activities. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the special event request for November 8th for the Corradina Chapter Florida Native Plant Society special event.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right. Ordinance public hearing. Ordinance 2026-08, first reading public hearing relating to definitions used in the town's noise ordinance. Anybody that's been paying attention, we had a first reading for this last month, and there were some changes somewhere along the line. So out of abundance of caution, we're doing another first reading instead of a second reading. So, yeah, so Matt.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and as the mayor mentioned, that we had a first reading at the last meeting, and we did have some substantial changes, and we thought, in an abundance of caution, given the scrutiny that we have on these noise ordinances, that we would do another first reading with those changes that were suggested by council at the last meeting. So, again, these are meant to be read collectively. So the first one is the definitional section, and I do not believe we had any changes to this one. This was just to define a noise disturbance as something that was plainly audible, and to take out the subjectivity of it, some of the subjective language as to whether or not the noise is excessive or annoying. So I do not believe we had any changes to the definitional section, but we wanted to include this as a first reading so all the ordinances would travel together.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion on this ordinance 2026-08?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2026-08.
All right. Doug, do you have any comments?
No additional comments. They were addressed in the last.
All right. Carrie?
No comments.
Julie?
Nope.
All right. Public comment. All right. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-08, first reading, public hearing, relating to the definitions used in the town's ordinance. I didn't read it the first time. Should I read it for the record?
Oh, the title? Did you not read the title?
No.
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah.
All right. So ordinance 2026-08, first reading, public hearing, relating to the definitions used in the town's noise ordinance, an ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, amending section 22-31 of the Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to the definitions used in the town's noise ordinances, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. All right. So there was a motion. It was seconded. No public comment. Second chance. All right. All those in favor of approving 2026-08 relating to definitions used in the town's noise ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. All right. Unanimous. Ordinance 2026-09, first reading, public hearing relating to the prohibition of a noise disturbance and providing for a noise violation based on a plainly audible standard. An ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, amending section 22-34 of the Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to the prohibition of a noise disturbance and providing for a noise violation based on a plainly audible standard, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
And this is very similar to the one that we had passed in May. The big difference here was the prior proposed ordinance had a noise disturbance occurs when, and there were two options. One, when a code enforcement officer can hear it, where it's plainly audible from an adjoining property. Then we also had a provision, subsection B, which permitted two witnesses to provide information to a code enforcement officer, and after some discussion, it was decided the town council wanted that removed, so we removed that portion, but nothing else changed with respect to this. And it also took out the subjectivity of some of the language as to whether or not it's annoying or that type of thing. So we're just talking about whether or not you can actually hear the noise, as opposed to determining whether it's something that you would subjectively determine to be annoying or harassing or something along that of that nature.
All right, and just to say it again, the plainly audible standard sounds very vague, but it is a legal standard that's widely accepted. And it's basically, if you can, more or less, if you can sing along with the music next door, that's plainly audible. But if you're just thinking, well, where's that sound coming from? Even though you can hear it, that's not plainly audible. So. Is there a motion for ordinance 2026-09?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion for ordinance number 2026-10.
How about 09?
9.
Pardon?
We're on 09.
I'm sorry, for 09.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Doug, do you have any comments?
No additional comments?
Carrie?
No, I'm okay.
Julie?
No comment specifically on this one, but since we have a couple more to get through, I thought I'd ask Matt just for a little clarification, because I did read through them. I watched last month's meeting yesterday, and it's just so much to like absorb.
Sure.
So in just a general question, I know that amplified sound was a big, subject. Is that been taken out of all of the ordinances? Does it appear?
Yeah, what we tried to do is there was that distinguishing between noise, sound, amplified sound, and what we tried to just simplify it as to whether or not you can hear it. Because if you can hear it on an adjoining property, if it's plainly audible, does it matter if it's amplified sound, or does it matter if it's some other type of sound? So we tried to take that out.
Okay.
And then we split up, and we'll get to that with the private and public special permits. We split it up so it's not in one ordinance that was kind of all melded together. So it makes it a little bit clearer what needs to be approved for a special event on private property and a special event on public property. And then with respect to both of those, it was just approving a special event as opposed to approving a special event with sound amplification equipment.
Okay, thank you.
If that answers.
It does,
Okay.
it does, thank you.
Public comment? All right. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-09, the first reading, public hearing relating to the prohibition of a noise disturbance and providing for a noise violation based on the plainly audible standard, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, ordinance 2026-10, first reading, public hearing relating to certain activities being exempt from being a noise disturbance. An ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, amending section 22-35 of the Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to the certain activities being exempt from being a noise disturbance, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, so what this does is carve out exceptions for exceptions from being a noise disturbance, and most of this was already in the prior ordinance, such as sound from emergency vehicles, motor vehicles, fireworks on the 4th of July, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, air conditioners, generators that are operating at a normal level. And so what we did was, in trying to, in listening to the residents, in listening to the business owners, we carved out an exception for 1 day a week during a seven-day week period for the C, C1, C2, SC, and T zones to permit live music, recorded music, or spoken word, whatever noise it is that can emanate onto an adjoining property for a single consecutive 2-hour period. And that was all what was approved before at the prior meeting. I think maybe we switched it from 2 days to 1 day a week. I think that may have been one of the changes. And then in addition, we changed the hours after getting feedback from residents and getting feedback from business owners from Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Friday and Saturday 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then Sunday from noon to 6 p.m. So we changed, I believe Friday was included in the Monday through Friday to 7 p.m. and getting feedback from business owners and residents. They wanted Friday to also, like Saturday was, extend to 10 p.m. And I think one important provision in here that I don't think we need it in here, but I wanted to put in there to make it clear is that you can play as much live music as you want, as much recorded music, spoken word, any other noise in the C, C1, C2, SC, T zoning districts, as long as it's not plainly audible on an adjoining property. So you want to play music on your own property that other people can't hear for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as no one else can hear it, go for it. So I just wanted to make that clear, because in discussions that came up earlier in a February meeting, there was some case law that was cited, and I just wanted to make sure that we carved out that exception so that case law could not apply to this new proposed ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion for ordinance 2026-10?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-10.
All right. Any comments, Doug?
No, I appreciate, Matt, the addition of paragraph 10 with clarifying the ability of folks to do those things. And thanks for making those updates on the hours and the dates. As always, we're trying to make improvements. This is first bite at the apple, or maybe the third bite. I lose track, but we can always come back and tweak it if we deem necessary. So,
Carrie?
I like the time changes. going on the weekends until 10 o'clock. I like that.
Julie?
I'm good with it.
Public comment? All right. All those in favor of approving ordinance, well, let me ask a question. Disregard, next one. All right, so all those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-10, which is the first reading, public hearing relating to certain activities being exempt from being a noise disturbance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, ordinance 2026-11, this first reading, public hearing relating to the application for and issuance of a permit for special events on private and public property. An ordinance of the Town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, amending sections 22-57, 22-58, and 22-59 of the Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to the application for and issuance of a permit for special events on a private and public property, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, where the current ordinance melds the two into one, where it's both special. There's a procedure for applying for a special event both on private property and public property, and what we did here was we split it into two separate ordinances. The first being, and we renamed it instead of sound amplification equipment, just special events, because the intent here is to approve special events and not be concerned with whether or not we're dealing with sound amplification equipment. So for the first section, 2257, it's special events on private property. And again, like the other like the previous ordinance, it does lay out, you have to provide an application and what needs to be included in that application. And the idea here is, in the ordinance that we just passed on first reading, you've got 1 day a week in these zones to play your music or whatever noise you want for a 2-hour period between certain time frames. If you want to go beyond that, you can apply for a special event permit. And in that particular case, if there's a noise on your property that's plainly audible and you have a special event permit on private property, you can do that a total of 6 times per calendar year. That was one of the changes we made. And also, there was some language before about it being every other month. And town council decided, after getting feedback from the public, that the better way to go was to do it, there must be 30 calendar days in between. So that was a change that we made. But other than that, with respect to the private property special event, it remains the same as it did at the last hearing, at our last town council meeting. With respect to the special events on public property, with comments from the public, with feedback from the residents and the property owners, or the business owners rather, town council decided that it should be once every 180 days or twice in a calendar year when you're permitted to have a special event on public property. It goes through, again, the application process and the information that needs to be in there, and it removes the permitting for special for sound amplifying equipment. So really all you're doing is you're getting a special event permit for an event on public property, and you can do that once every 180 days or twice in a calendar year. And that was the big change with the second one, just the number. I don't recall what it was in the original ordinance, but town council, after hearing everyone's comments, decided that once every 180 days or twice in a calendar year was the way to go.
Is there a motion for ordinance 2026-11?
I'll make. I'll second it.
Yeah, for the record,
Yeah.
Doug's mic wasn't on. He made the motion. Anyway, any comments?
Just a couple, some of them, so we say there must be 30 calendar days in between each special event held on a particular parcel of private property. Should we say it must be a minimum of 30 calendar days? Rather than must be 30 days. If I'm put on my system engineering hat, that means it has to be 30 days. So,
Okay.
yeah, just a minimum. That's the intent, right?
Yes, that is. certainly
Nobody
the
would argue
intent.
with that, I don't think. That's the intent. How does this, the private special event, how does this relate to the residential zones? maybe we discussed this last time, but calls out specifically the commercial, the T and the SC districts.
Correct. Those, yeah, it's only the C districts, the T district, and the SE districts. Those are the only ones that.
And perhaps that's not relevant because it's an R zone for the other zones, and we don't permit those special events in those areas?
Not, yeah, it wouldn't be pursuant to this ordinance. And I don't think we would have a special event, right, in our residential zone?
No, the only thing we have, it covers in another ordinance about road closures and stuff, gives me the authority to close roads,
For like a block party type
not a
thing?
block party thing.
Okay, was curious, as it popped in my head, do we allow for or have any occurrences of special events in our zone?
And the private property, if I remember correctly, it does not have to go to council. Is that correct?
Well, that was something that we did get some feedback on, and as it reads in the proposed ordinance, that a permit for a special event may be approved by the town manager or by a simple majority vote of the town council. There was some feedback, I believe, from a resident or two who liked the idea of it going to town council as opposed to the town manager having the decision to approve it. But as it reads now, it can be approved by the town manager or by a simple majority of the town council.
And remind me, is there a minimum number of days prior that the application needs to be submitted?
30 days.
Even for, okay.
Yeah, that's how it reads now, but I mean,
Right.
if that's something that you want to change, we can,
No.
Is there any legal issue with that?
with it being a minimum of 30 days?
No, with the town manager being or either the town manager or the council.
Well, I think the idea was, and this was some of the comments that we got from residents, if you have the whole town council looking at it and voting on it, it's not just the decision of one person, as it would be for the town manager.
But I thought the whole point of deferring to the town manager would be to allow the businesses to be more nimble, right? Wasn't that the whole point?
That was the point, yeah, we didn't have to, if in the instance there was, say it was 31 days out, it just happened to be, more than 31 days until the next council meeting, that the town manager could approve, assuming it met the criteria, we would be delegating some of that authority to Mike, and consistent with other decisions that we empower him to make, but, so.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily advocating one way or the other. I was just commenting on those were some of the feedback that we got. I suppose it's also it could also be permitted at a town council meeting for the town council to vote to defer it to the town manager if they so chose.
No, you take it.
Our
No, you
dirty
take it.
laundry, hand him
No,
our
you
dirty
take
laundry, I think the chief wants to weigh in.
It also opens up for public discussion if it's
Good point.
if it's a council vote.
That's right.
The 6 events per year, you guys good with that?
I don't have a problem with it. I know there are some concerns, and I understand those concerns. If we wanted to tone it down to, say, 4 events a year versus 6, it's basically every other month is what it boils down
Right.
to. Or you could, in the outdoor season that is not August, you could
Right.
do it in the
Right.
more favorable seasons. You can do one every month, since it's 30 days between, so.
Yeah.
And it does limit in subsection 5 a particular special event to 2 consecutive days and to only 6 consecutive hours on any one day. So you could have a special event that lasted both Saturday and Sunday, but it can only be 6 hours on both days.
Yeah, I think as a resident, saying 6 is too much, I understand that. But as a business owner, I think 2 or 3 would be too little. So I think 6 is a fair compromise. Like I said, business owners probably want more and residents want less. So
Yeah.
everybody's pissed off.
Well, and that is my last comment. And if we bring it to town manager or to council, they still have to approve it. So the town code enforcement officer at that time has the ability to enforce if it becomes a public nuisance, if said event would overstep what is acceptable based on the premise of what's approved versus what's actually happening. So there are still protections to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand per se for 6 times a year without any recourse. So certainly if there was an application for an event that, a special event that had a history or whatnot, then we would perhaps cast a different view on it, so.
Carrie, any comment?
Thank you.
I just want some clarification, and I'll start by saying I'm supportive of the town manager approving special events. I wonder a couple of things. Does that, first of all, is our town manager comfortable with doing that? And is he insulated from any controversy that could result of one person versus our council approving that? I kind of like some feedback on that from both of you.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. If it wasn't in my hands, I would prefer that, but I'm willing to take the responsibility of being the town manager and stuff. And normally if I see there's gonna be an issue, that's something I'd make sure before the council. Hopefully we get them, kind of be the general policy. Hopefully we get them in time to 30 days, or we get up to 45 days, even change the time, which would give enough time to get it before council like we're currently doing.
Right. Well, and then I think one of the aspects of it, and I think maybe this is why it's brought up by several residents, is in the constitutional challenge to it. One of the factors that they've argued is, well, it puts the approval or denial of a special permit in the hands of one person, and it's subjective in that sense, as opposed to in a public forum, as the chief pointed out, where there's public comments and you're voted on by an elected council. So that would be a distinction. It would take away, if you took away the manager's ability, the town manager's ability to approve or deny one of these permits, it would take away that constitutionality argument as being a factor where all the powers in one person, and it could be perceived as being subjective as to a property owner or a particular event, whereas you've got the whole town council and public comments.
I think I had a thought that I don't remember right now, though.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yellow fever.
Yeah, yellow fever.
I think generally, it's going to be fine, but I think there might be a circumstance that exactly what I'm saying, that it could be problematic.
I remember what I was
So
saying.
I just want to keep you insulated
Oh.
as well.
Well, and I thought the whole intent of this was basically on private property.
Correct. This is private property.
Basically, kind of like it's just permission to exceed the noise ordinance for more than 2 hours, right? So there really isn't much of an approval process.
Right, because the idea here is, in conjunction with the other ordinance, if you own a business and it's the month of March, you've got four weeks during that time, and on 4 days during that time, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, or some other time, you have that exception to have your live music or whatever you want to do. And then in addition, once you've used up those 4 days, you then potentially 6 times a year can have a fifth day. Or not even just a fifth day, but a whole weekend if you want, because this provides that you can have a special event that lasts 2 days. So you could have a whole weekend special event. So we're trying to reach that compromise between the once a week, and then in addition to having the special event 6 times a year for 2 days apiece. So we're trying to weigh that.
Any other comment?
I'm okay with that.
Julie?
Yeah, I guess I agree with Carrie. I want to make it, easier for businesses, for the town, but at the same time, I do see where some problems could come up and, do we deal with that when it comes? Or do we, Also, I was thinking, if we keep it the way it is and we bring it before council, there, I know Mike in the past has contacted us between meetings if there was something special that came up that was urgent. So is that, if that came up and it was something that really needed to be happen, maybe, on that circumstance, he could contact us and say, we got an agreement here? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, really.
I'm too, actually.
I'm comfortable if we want to pull it back to the council for approval, just as we move forward to try it out. I do agree that, and based on some of the feedbacks, that, it is a large, going to 6 for up to two days for each of 6 events is 12 days a year. separate by 30 calendar stays in between. I'm fine if we want to pull it back. I think businesses plan out in advance nonetheless already. But if we want to allow Mike to approve it as well, I'm comfortable with Mike doing it. So
Well, maybe to piggyback on your remarks, which I think are good, could it be town manager's discretion if he thinks it could be something that could potentially be controversial, that he could bump it to council?
yeah, I think he has that. He has that ability right now to do either or. So it's at his discretion. It's just not spelled out how he makes that discretion in the ordinance, which I wouldn't.
I would rather do that because the whole point of this discussion was to allow businesses to be more nimble.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was just kind of doing the quick math when Doug was talking here. When you factor in the exception for 1 day a week, you got 52 events where you can have noise emanating other people's property for a business. When you factor in the 6 special events that are 2 days, that's another 12 days. That's 64 days a year. That's almost 20% of the time, almost 1/5 of the time a business would be able to create live music or whatever they want to do that emanates onto an adjoining property, almost 20% of the time.
Yep.
Any other comments?
That was quick math.
Oh, I'll put my, I know we're trying to keep up a cadence here. For the public property, right, so switching down to section 2258, that's 60 days prior that has to have an application in which allows for bringing to council, which is required, right? That doesn't allow for town manager approval. And it's once every 180 days or twice in a calendar year. So conceivably, Matt, just doing a thought exercise, you could have a November public event, and then does that mean 180 days into the next calendar year, or does it mean that they could have one in February?
Or twice in a calendar year.
I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
Well,
I would read it as 180 days. It's just 180 days. It doesn't say 180 days in the same calendar year. But I understand why what we're trying to limit with twice in any calendar year, because if they did it on the 1st and then on the 181st, you still have 180
right,
until New Year's. So I'm fine with that. I just wanted to ask. I think that's the intent.
It is the intent. That is the intent. I mean, we could leave it at once every 180 days and take out the twice a calendar year.
No, I think twice a calendar year is fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
It's fine.
And you know, just the nature of it being in a public area, there are other requirements like insurance and that type of thing as well.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to oversubscribe our public spaces to take it away from residents. Right. I know that's a concern with some of the other activities we've held before, so I think we have a nice blend.
And there's also a 2-day limitation period on a special event on public property.
Right.
The one question, going back to the private property, in my own mind last month, I was thinking that the special events didn't add to the number of days they could exceed the noise ordinance. So I was thinking that, they're allowed the 4 days, but one of them or 2 of them, if they're doing the special event, could exceed it. Not once a week plus another 2 days. Did I have it wrong last month, or has it been changed?
Well, it reads that one of the requirements of applying for a special event on private property is you have to provide the reason why the property owner cannot conduct the applied for event pursuant to the hours of operation and days of operation provided for in the previous ordinance. My understanding was the intent was we had these 1 day a week exceptions, and then you would come back and say, well, I can still do it 1 day a week, but I want to have a 2-day event, and that would not fall within that 1 day a week exception. So it would be in addition to, as opposed to in place of.
Right.
That's my reading of it. That's my feeling as what the intent was.
You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it can add up quickly, as you pointed out. Not you.
Right.
Pointed out. In terms of the total number of occurrences, which I think is probably more than what we, personally, what I would was anticipating, if you want to put it that way. But I do read the way Matt was saying in terms of it's in addition to, because the once a week thing is just meant to say, hey, you can do this, you don't need special events, you can plan your business however you want, flexibility, or your private event. And then the special event is a separate standalone thing. It can either overlap or overwrite, or it can be in conjunction with. So I trying to do math with, like, if you do this, it takes away from that. It starts to get complicated. The other way to do that would be to just reduce the number of special total events to 4 times a year as opposed to 6. So you're still allowing for that flexibility, and you can still have that, maybe they want to have a Friday night event and then they want to have a Saturday, Sunday special event.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too hard to regulate all the different instances without having six different ordinances, and that's not the intent. The intent is to
Right.
to
You guys have any comment?
Yeah, that's a lot of, what ifs, and I
Right.
don't know. I mean, currently, I believe I'm comfortable with the 6, that's in the stretch of a whole year. And again, the hope is that we have respectful businesses and aren't going to abuse this, and it's not going to become a,
Right.
issue. So that's, I mean, we could start low and add later if it became necessary, or just trust that it's going to work. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a hard thing to say. Is this actually going to,
Right. You guys done? Yeah. Public comment. Yogo.
Diogo Adrados, 420 11th Ave. One quick question. I saw that, I don't know, has it always been on the agenda that there's business impact sheets connected to the ordinance, or is that a new thing we're doing?
It's a relatively new statute, and yeah, so for
It's a new statute? This is like a Florida statute?
that requires these business impact statements, and for certain ordinances that we have to have them, and for these we do.
And what's the, do those comprise new risks as well? Like, because I saw a lot of we don't foresee any business impact here. What are the risks of saying that we don't foresee impact, and then somebody being like, whoa, this is impacting me? Is that, do we, is there any new risk that comes from having these and then saying we don't foresee any risks?
I don't think so. Not if we put forward a good faith representation that based on what we see here, we don't see any business impact on it.
Yeah. And then back to the constitutionality thing with Mike approving, we mentioned too that he has some leeway to give it up to council, right? And allow council to choose and not make the decision. But if he does that, that still seems like he could put a different onus on some businesses than other, and that could still be possibly like a constitutionality argument. So I guess my question is, he doesn't really get an out, right? Like if we give him the right, he either always sends to council or kind of always approves, right? Because if he uses discretion to then raise it to council, it's still like he's setting different bars depending on different applicants.
Well, I mean, as it reads now, it can be either approved by the town manager or by a majority vote of town council.
Right.
Right. And I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it worth putting some language like if time permits goes to council? You know what I mean? Like if the timing works. I mean, I don't want to get too wordy because then, I mean, that's what law is, right? But
Yeah, I think if you change it to 45 days, it gives plenty of time. And it doesn't always mean there's some permits have come through council, and it's been less than a 45-day period that we're asking for right now. We approve them once council approves them and things. So, I know that some of the questions and stuff, but, it gives us time to get all the proper paperwork in before we give it to you all. And, if it comes in tomorrow, we've got, well, normally we'd have 30 days.
Question too, because it seems like it was a couple months ago, we had something come through the consent agenda to approve, and it was literally going to happen that weekend. And I was thinking, even if it was a local church, I'm like, if they put all of the advertising and the organization, and I was thinking, well, what if we said no? That's a huge waste of time. So it was just weird. I don't know. And they had submitted the application quite a few months prior, if I recall correctly.
I believe that was probably for the Easter Sunday services.
I think it was First Baptist of Indialantic, if I remember.
Yeah, they were doing
the
an Easter Sunday service up here.
Yeah, anyway, it was one of the first times I noticed that. I was like, wow, this is like coming up, and I'm like, I hope we approve it, because that would
Yeah.
really.
Well, we would have told them no. If it wasn't approved, we would have reached out to them and told them your event.
Yeah, so I don't know, yeah, it just was an occurrence that,
I mean, I've said it twice already tonight. I don't want to do 45 days because we would have just wasted 3 months of discussion and ordinance change.
yeah.
So we leave it as it is, and Mike can do whatever he wants.
Mike can, what you meant to say was Mike will use his
My discretion.
Right.
his discretion
He will-
to decide if he should bring it to council,
He-
not based on.
And he will use his discretion
Mitigating factors.
based on the objective factors that are included in all of the ordinances. And will treat each property owner and business owner equally in that regard.
Exactly. That's, yeah, that was in
Be
the
honest,
subtitles.
Most times 30 days is enough time, and unless there was some other reason, I would bring them before you.
Right. Diego, you done? Oh, yes, sir. Okay. Any other public comment? All right. So,
So other than Doug's comment about the clarification that it must be a minimum of 30 days instead of must be 30 days, were there any other changes?
Not that I tracked.
No.
so all those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-11, first reading, public hearing relating to the application for and issuance of a permit for special events on private and public property, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. All right, another unanimous. All right, item number 5, ordinance 2026-12, first reading, public hearing relating to prohibited uses in the C and C1 commercial districts. An ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, amending sections 113-336, subsection 3 of the Indialantic zoning code relating to prohibited uses in C and C1 commercial districts, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, well, much like the noise ordinances, this is something that's been discussed by town council for the past few months. We brought this before town council at the May meeting with respect to outdoor business activities and clarifying language on that with respect to, as it stands now, outdoor business activities in these particular districts are banned. But after, again, comments from the public, both residents and business owners, we had tried to reach a compromise. And that compromise here was, and I'll just read what the compromise is potentially going to be, is outdoor business activities are prohibited unless, 1, the outdoor business activities occur within an enclosed outdoor area on the property, such as a courtyard or fenced-in yard, and 2, such outdoor business activities are directly related to the type of business being operated at that location. Under no circumstances may outdoor business activities be conducted at any time in a parking lot or other parking area. Such outdoor business activities remain subject to and must comply with all other provisions of the town's code of ordinances, including, but not limited to, the noise ordinances contained in sections 2231 through 2259. And that was the language that we'd use based on, if you recall, there was about 4 different drafts, and town council seemed to like that particular draft best. And when we brought it before the council at the May meeting, there was some discussion. I believe the vice mayor had some comments, and the decision was ultimately made to table the vote on that and have further discussion at the June meeting by the town council.
Yes, I was wondering why, I had forgotten that. I was wondering why we had another first reading with no
Yep.
changes. Yeah. And didn't somebody want like a list of approved or something?
I was going to take that action, and I did not succeed in achieving that objective. So,
All right.
life conspired against me. So,
So do you still want a list?
so what I guess when we say activities directly related to the type of business being operated at that location, how do we assert or judge what that allows for?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think the discussion was, if you have a restaurant and you want to have outdoor seating, that would be one thing. If you had a restaurant and you wanted to have outdoor skateboarding park or something that would not be directly related to the business. Or if you, I'm trying to remember what some of the other examples were.
Like bank and food trucks.
Right, right. Or a bank and having, you know, I can't think of a good example. It's something that wouldn't be connected to banking in their front yard. I think the idea was that if we were going to have this carve out to allow businesses to have some outdoor business activities, that it would be related to the business that it was approved for. And I think that was just kind of a common sense viewpoint on it. I think one of the concerns, if I recall, was how do we distinguish between, you know, the circumstance where you have a restaurant with maybe some outdoor seating or drinks in a courtyard versus, you know, if you have a barber shop, do we want people sitting out front in an enclosed area, you know, having their hair cut or something? You know, I don't think that's the intent of it, but it could be interpreted that way, and I think that was one of the concerns.
Yeah, that's precisely kind of it. And try envisioning what we want versus what we would permit, and then, you know, how it could be construed in terms of stretching a business type into something that's conceived to be adjacent, could argue to be adjacent, but is perhaps considered by some to be not. Some of that's subjective. So anyway, that's the primary concern, is that how do we delineate that from, and we can imagine the businesses that are here now and what they might do, whether it's a furniture, you know, a sidewalk sale on a furniture thing, or you know, Jersey Mike's has a, you know, spans into the sidewalk there, or the part you get your hair cut outside. I mean, some of those things aren't the worst things in the world, to be fair, but is that, I mean, I think we're all envisioning kind of outdoor nice areas where we can have a nice time and relax and be social. But from a trying to anticipate.
Can it be tied somehow to the business that they are licensed there for?
The business license, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you're off in our clothing store and you want to do a cafe or do a special event, not special events. If you wanted to, you know, set up
Sidewalk
food
sale.
tables and stuff and things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, basically that's not anything with clothing.
How does that work with the business license? Because, and I'm curious if there are any Florida statutes to protect a business owner's right to have, you know, an eclectic variety, all within a similar, you know, not like extremes, you know, but, you know, let's say, you know, when we had our business in downtown Modern, it was, we were retail, you know, I don't know what the divisions are, but, you know, are there any business rights to evolve your business into something that's not, you know, going to be?
Well, I mean, I think the town issues BTRs for the type of business.
Yeah.
So it would have to be related to that type of business for what the BTR is issued for. And I think, you know, part of there was talk of like a sidewalk sale, I think, and things of that nature. But I think what we tried to do here was we tried to temper that a bit by including the language that the outdoor activity has to be within an enclosed outdoor area, such as a courtyard or a fenced-in area, and it specifically provides it cannot take place in a parking lot or a parking area. So it does contemplate, you know, it not being completely out in the open, and that it is sort of, even though it might still be outside, it's in an enclosed area that to some degree would be fenced in from, you know, it just wouldn't be, you know, you just wouldn't have, for a furniture store, just wouldn't have it out in the front lawn.
Right. Well, like there was a business in downtown Melbourne years ago, and the lady, she made these cute little late girl dresses. And at one point she would host little tea parties in her shop. And, you know, like, would she need to get 2 different business licenses because she's hosting little things? You know what I'm saying? Like, where do you draw the line on,
Sure.
I pay for this rent, I contribute revenue to the
Sure.
town, and, you know, you're getting, government to me is getting a little too involved, as long as it's not something that's, you know, harming the town or you know, disturbing the peace or something. If it's, you know, and I think a lot of businesses these days are having to get creative with, you know, because retail's a struggle, you know, there's a lot of e-commerce, you know. So I'm just curious, I want to be, you know, make sure that we think of this and not make it so restrictive that we're never going to, you know, go, because businesses will have to evolve within a realm, but if you're going to be super specific and say, okay, well, your thing says, you know, you are retail and you can't have a little cafe here, or you can't have a mahjong game, you know, with the ladies, and, you know, like, how specific do you need? And if so, is there a pathway to apply for another business license that would, you know, address that?
My question, from a BTR standpoint, is it as simple as coming in and filling out a form, writing a check?
Yeah.
We already
Still
have.
consistent, it's still consistent with
And most
the
people, and we're not
zoning,
talking about
obviously.
inside, like, when you're talking about the lady with the tea party, I'm sure that, but we're talking outside activity that's not been allowed, so, you know, what do you know,
Right, but maybe like to Matt's, if it's a unique business, it has a courtyard in a protected area, it's kind of like encompassing of their business. It's not something that's like overflowing into the parking lot, which is
it
specifically.
can, though.
Well, no, well, this would specifically
this-
prohibit it from,
Yeah, I'm overflowing, but I'm like, if there's loud sounds and everything else, which falls under something else, but,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I'm not talking sound, I'm talking calm,
calm,
agreeable.
A mime convention.
yeah.
That being said, though, I mean, I do have one main concern, and that is, I do understand some of these businesses that have an eclectic presence to them. And like, say, for example, we have a hair salon and maybe a clothing store, or one or the other, or both. And
And it
this
rhymes with-
business has 10 parking spaces. And then a big event is hosted on a Saturday, on a Sunday, and I've witnessed it. And 50 cars come in, and 1 block away is all residential. And guess where these people park? Wherever they can. So they park in front of people's houses, they take other parking spaces, they park where they shouldn't, and then people that are trying to come in and out of their homes, this is not a problem south of Fifth Avenue, but it's definitely a problem north of Fifth Avenue, which is where I live. And so just coming in and out of town, that's problematic for the residents. And so that's going to sour them to supporting these types of businesses. So I think we need to strike a balance. And I'm a big supporter of small businesses, but I also am a big supporter of, you know, peace and love in our neighborhood as well. So I think if you have restrictive parking, you need to be considerate of the events that you're going to host, and allow for, you know, where people are going to park.
Sure.
Does the town have any recourse for parking in this instance? I mean, if they're parking in the right-of-way, they're allowed to park in the right-of-way, correct?
If they're parked legally, yeah, if they're parked, you know, not with the flow of traffic and things, and.
Right.
It does, what Ms. Foy's talking about is, you know, that it does cause the disturbances in the neighborhood. Like when we have the big events at Nance Park, when there are art shows, and we get a lot of, at the police department, we get a lot of complaints about people parking and stuff, and, you know, even though it's the right of way, they're parked a little bit on the grass, and so it elevates the situation and causes a little bit more controversy with the neighbors. I can tell you, you know, we've had different situations where they've had events, and sometimes they almost block their parking off too. I saw one just recently, and that was the problem, is their parking was slow, they're having a special event, and they were parking cars at other places and things, because they don't have the capacity to handle the parking.
So do you foresee any issues with this example?
I don't foresee, as long as it's tied into the use that's there. So, you know, if somebody was gonna put a concert on and they're not licensed for a concert, and they're not talking about sound, it could be, how about this? One of the discos with no
Oh,
sound.
the silent disco.
Yeah, if they're gonna have a disco party out there with no sound, and they all have to wear the headphones, but you get,
that a
you know,
thing?
75 to 100 people there. It's pretty neat, actually, to watch. It's, yeah, because you can't hear anything, and they're all moving around, and
And they do like pub crawls with them sometimes?
yeah. But, you know, do they have the capacity to not affect the neighbors, whether it's businesses or residences?
I think, and I would say that any business in our town, if they had some sort of special event, is gonna violate that in some respect. you know, it would be, is it often, is it excessive, you know? Are we talking, you know, there's a 10 people coming to do a craft class, you know, versus, you know, I don't know what you witnessed, because I live on South Riverside. But
It's a farmer's market, and lots of people. come.
lots of people, yeah.
And they parked everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. So, but I don't know that we should govern and say, in fear of that. I think that if it happens, then, and there's a parking issue, then, you know, that's when enforcement comes in, and maybe posted violations, because, you know, it's causing a nuisance, you know, that would be against, you know.
Was that a violation?
Oh, yeah, it was a violation. This last weekend? Yeah, that was a violation. No outdoor business. This ordinance has not passed or anything. So it's a repeat violation multiple times from that same property.
I actually got phone calls about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently, there's no exception for outdoor business activities.
Right.
And this is very narrow, too. I mean, we talked a lot about, well, what, is it directly related? But if this were to pass, it could only be, again, in an enclosed outdoor area, like a fenced-in area or a courtyard. It couldn't be on a sidewalk. It couldn't be on a front lawn. It couldn't be in a parking lot or parking area. And it's specific, even though it doesn't need to, it specifically provides that you have to adhere to the noise ordinances, too. So you wouldn't have a noise ordinance, or you wouldn't have a noise issue, because that would be in violation. You couldn't have it in the front yard. You couldn't have it in the parking lot. You couldn't have it in a driveway. You couldn't have it on a sidewalk. You couldn't have it in your front yard. You could only have it in an enclosed area. So there are some ways to kind of rein it in that regard.
Did we have a motion? It's been a while. You did?
No, I was gonna say, look,
All right.
looking at
So
the boss.
do we have a motion for ordinance 2026-12?
I'll make a motion to approve, we on 2026-12?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other comments?
No, I think just kind of circling back full circle, I think we can, you know, rely on the code enforcement and the town, as well as dialogue with the business owners and the residents to work through any situations that might come up. And if we need to, we'll tailor that approach.
All right. Public comment? All right. No public comment. Again. All right. Ordinance, or all those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-12, which is the first reading / public hearing related to the prohibited uses in the C and C1 commercial districts, say aye.
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 All opposed. All right, unanimous. Last one, ordinance 2026-13, first reading, public hearing relating to application fees for special events. An ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, amending sections 8-7 of the town of Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to the application fees for special event permits, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. Mike, this is you, right?
This is us. So we, council a couple of years ago approved it and everything, but we never came up with numbers, and we, you know, to move forward. We're the only municipality that doesn't charge any fees, and there's time, and we're not asking for absorbent numbers. You know, it's based upon type of event, the size, some places. For example, I had somebody reach out to me about doing a 5K run. Well, that involves a lot of staff time, planning, road closures, my time. It depends, you know, where it is. So we're not asking for, we won't even cover, but helps cover the expenses a little bit of the whole process of the staff taking everything in, the application, reviewing them, and going on with the event and making sure that if the proper people sign it, it gets turned over and everything. And looking for I think the amounts are in here. Were the amounts in here, Molly? Were the amounts in here?
Yeah, they're in the impact assessment. They're in the impact
Yeah,
assessment.
the business impact.
Like $100.
Okay. I just looking.
It's 50 for commercial private, 150 for public property,
Yeah,
50 for food trucks, 200 for road closures.
yeah. So, I mean, not exorbitant amounts if they're holding a special event and things. And if you want to, I mean, you know, we could also throw something, I'm just saying, some places have the discretion to waive those fees for, like, if you're for charity, somebody, you know, the turtle crawl people, or the turtle crawl for the, if it's a 501c, if they're doing an event and things. So that's a possibility too.
Does that need to be in the ordinance, or can that be a policy?
Well, what we did with the ordinance was the ordinance did not provide for an application fee.
Yeah.
So what we did in the ordinance was provide that the town can charge an application fee, and that it'll be done by an adopted resolution. That way, if we need to change the numbers, it's easy to do instead of the 2 reading process. So that's why I didn't include the numbers in there.
That seems like a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I think we did that with the inspections, fire inspections.
We've done it with a lot of stuff, parking fines over the time that we can adjust by resolution instead of 2 ordinances, you got to advertise and everything. I mean, it's something we can bring the fees to you, that's what wasn't sure if it was part of the ordinance when I was looking. But we can put in there, the fees can be waived under certain circumstances, and, if we want to be approved by the council or whatever, fees, or just, it's for like 501Cs and things.
Is the fee collected and retained, just even if, whether it's approved or not? Is that how that works?
Yeah, because it takes staff time.
I do think that if we're going to include something in a resolution about waiving the fees, that, as Mike said, if it's a 50, if it's a charitable organization, like we should provide that it can be as to those things rather than just discretion to waive it.
Yeah.
That way, it seems like we're treating different businesses different ways.
Right, I agree.
Is there a motion for ordinance 2026-13?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-13.
Second.
All right, Doug, any comments?
I'm good with adding a carve-out exemption for registered 501c3s.
I am too. That's all you got?
Yes, sir.
Agree with Doug.
Yes.
Public comment? All right. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-13 relating to the application fees for special events, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Unanimous again. We have no unfinished business, no new business. Matt, you have an administrative report?
I do. I just wanted to discuss, I know I'd sent to everyone the lawsuit that my firm recently filed with respect to property tax reform. And I just wanted to discuss briefly what it is we filed and the substantive nature of it, and also the procedural nature. So I think, as everyone's aware, property tax reform recently passed, and in order for it to go into effect, it has to go on the November ballot to amend the Constitution, and it has to pass by 60% of the voters, which is a very large percentage. As part of that, in the law that passed, they included the proposed language for the ballot that would go on the that would be voted on in November. And what my firm has done is not on behalf of any municipality. Sometimes it's when these challenges are made, you get sort of a collection of municipalities, or you get a collection of elected officials. What we've done is we've established a not-for-profit company that's made up of Florida voters who have standing to challenge this. And we're doing it on a pro bono basis, so there's no cost to the town of Indialantic or any other municipality or special district, which I think is something that has also gotten lost a little bit in the discussion on this, that this doesn't just affect local governments in terms of municipalities, but it also affects special districts, which include things like hospitals. So we're not challenging the ability of the Florida legislature to do this. What we are challenging is the language of the ballot itself. Because the ballot itself needs to be unbiased, it needs to be objective, and it needs to be factually accurate. And to just kind of hit the broad points of the lawsuit, we've claimed that the Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Taxes, which is the name of which is the title of the ballot, is biased. It's not objective, in that Save Our Homes, excessive are both biased terms. It's interesting, what's come to be known as Save Our Homes, which was passed years ago, I think decades ago, which limits the annual increase on the assessed value for property tax purposes. It wasn't the ballot title for Save Our Homes. The ballot title was Homestead Valuation Limitation, which is a very objective title for it. So that's the first objection to it. It opens up that it says this amendment benefits Florida taxpayers. We think that the term benefits is bias as well. It goes on to say that it exempts the first $250,000 of a homestead's value, when in reality for the first year it's $150,000. With respect to moving forward with the ballot language, it reads it ensures funding for core services, which there's nothing in the amendment that ensures funding for core services. It reads that it protects small businesses, when there's nothing in the amendment that mentions small businesses specifically. The non-homesteaded property taxes would apply to non-homesteaded properties, small businesses, large businesses, any type of non-homesteaded property. And it ensures fairness for Florida residents when we believe it treats Florida residents differently based on when you establish residency. So those are the challenges to it. And the procedure for it is we filed a complaint last week, served the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. It's not like typical litigation where it drags on for years and years, where there's discovery and depositions. There's actually a statute on it that provides an expedited process. It was filed up in Leon County, and pursuant to the statute, the judge is supposed to give the case priority over other cases and expedite the process. There'll likely be a briefing schedule and maybe oral arguments, but November is rapidly approaching. So, we will see if the expedited process is resolved in time to actually place it on the ballot in November. And that was the update I just wanted to provide. I don't think I had anything else from a legal perspective.
Mike, you got?
Yeah, just real briefly, the mayor knows this. Myself, the police chief and fire chief attended the Indialantic Rotary Club today, and we each got up and spoke. I gave a little presentation about the boardwalk and the Nance Park thing on behalf of the mayor, and they presented us donations to each department, the police and fire department, sorry, Joe, and to town itself. And it was money that Indialantic Rotary worked with Dijon they worked in together, like there's money went to the Bard Center for the Orchestra and stuff at the wine event, the SOFA event that was last month, I believe, or month before. So that we have that donations to help pay for things like the fire department already has plans and the police department has plans where they're going to use the money and stuff. So that was a very nice event. Then just a reminder, we'll be closed July 3rd. I know it was announced earlier, but remember the causeway closes for the fireworks. We've already approved that previously. So just remember on that Saturday in the evening.
What time?
At 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah. So be over by like 7:30 if you plan, and then you know how traffic gets.
Yep.
But that's all I have.
I don't think I have anything. Doug?
Just want to had a brief conversation with, for different reasons, with a person in the public works, or actually, sorry, the Parks Department over at City of Melbourne, and they had a recent briefing, and I think Indian Harbor Beach is having a briefing, town hall next week maybe, on the impacts if the Save Our Homes from Excessive Tax memorandum passes. What that would potentially mean for the town of the City of Melbourne, and likewise impact on Indialantic speculating. They would potentially consider closing all of their parks and recs, shutting all of their community centers, shutting the City of Melbourne pool, shutting down all of their community sponsored programs, as well as additional expenses. So, I mean, that's a speculative approach, but all for saving, $400, $500 on your personal property tax receipt. So imagine what that looks like across the state. In terms of public services, and not to mention public safety, roads, and other services that we would be impacted by. So it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal on so many levels, not just from a public service level, but from community organizations that rely on the services that the cities provide and facilities they provide so they can administer to the public programs for youth and adults. So it's a huge deal, that's all I can say. So be informed and vote. Thank you.
And I'll just add real quickly, it affects small towns exponentially more than big towns. But anyway, Carrie.
It does. And the thought of the demise of Indialantic because of the loss of the property tax revenue is, it saddens me. So the money's going to come from somewhere. So I'm not sure yet if it's a shell game or, or if we're going to have a 20% sales tax or a gas tax, but, we're going to pay for something somewhere. But it could be to the detriment and the loss of small town municipalities, so I'm sad about that. On a lighter note, we did not have South Beaches Coalition, it's the summer months, and Space Coast TPO, so those meetings did not happen last week. I did attend the Lagoon House MRC meeting, and we had a very exciting presentation on the benefits of coal in soil to help oxygenate the Indian River Lagoon. It wasn't as fascinating as I'm making it seem, but there are benefits to having coal in the lagoon, and because it helps oxygenate the water, and so that's another resource. Another reason to vote for the half-cent sales tax in November to keep the Indian River Lagoon replenishment going. That's all I have.
Julie?
I don't have anything special to report. I did want to thank council for working hard on the noise ordinances. I watched the full meeting yesterday. As you guys know, my mom fell at the very end of April, and so my life has not been my own. She's still living with me, but we're progressing towards more freedom. But I just wanted to thank you because I thought you guys did a great job.
Thank you. All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.
How's she doing?